The Infected The Commissioner Issue 1 sees Arkham Asylum's guards killed by Lockup and his men as they take control of the asylum, as the prison is put into chaos thanks to the storm causing havoc all over Gotham. In the city, Jim Gordon lights the bat signal, knowing sometimes you wake up and feel better than before, but wonders if the city will ever wake up, and knows the city only stirs when something biblical happens. He knows Gotham kills like the winter and poisons people like his son and breaks people like his wife and daughter, yet he still defends it. Jim is met by Detective Conley, who apologizes for running late thanks to the storm. Jim hopes that he can keep a secret, saying sometimes he meets with Batman up on the roof, and despite it probably being a violation of his codes, he's gotta do it. Conley says that that's not really a secret, but Jim knows that it's the secret to good police work, to stick to the rules and bend a few more. Conley wants to know what this is really about, but Jim says they are just talking, turning the subject towards when they questioned a kid killer. Conley doesn't remember him, as Jim talks about the man's lawyer and how he really wanted to put a bullet in the man, just to say that they finally did the right thing for once. Conley wants to get back to his busy night, but Jim says that they have been tracking his progress, saying he knows the detective is into extortion and racketeering outfits. Conley pulls his gun on Jim, saying that he's just talking like Julius Caesar now, and that puts a big target on his back. Jim tells him to put the gun away, since he doesn't care for the crimes that the cop has done, since Jim would be like him if it wasn't for his sense of duty getting in the way. Jim says that if he's being honest, he would have burned Gotham years ago, and he knows Conley is more honest than he is and willing to do what it takes. Conley says that Jim doesn't know a thing about him, as Jim says that if he does this for him, he will have internal affairs get off his back. He reveals a unicorn key, a special key that can only be activated in a humanitarian emergency, and will open all of the doors in Arkham, freeing the prisoners to let them fend for themselves. Conley refuses to touch the damn thing, but Jim says he doesn't need to, since he's already activated it 2 hours ago. Explosions sound out over Gotham as Batgirl races into the city, hearing reports of IEDs being detonated all over town. Jim calls someone, telling them not to do anything until he gives the word, and no civilians are to be harmed. He tells the person on the other end that Batman and Superman are off the board, and they will move to phase 2 before the other heroes can react. Batgirl meanwhile contacts Black Canary, telling her of an unmarked stealth National Guard chopper entering the city. She follows it as Dinah says that it can't be the National Guard, telling Barbara to be careful. Batgirl follows it and is shocked to find a military staging area where homeless people are being rounded up. She calls in to the GCPD but is suddenly attacked by Blockbuster and Anarchy, who says he saw Batgirl coming from a mile away thanks to her giant sense of moral superiority. Batgirl fights against the villains as Jim arrives at the staging area, demanding the filth of Gotham get on the transports, since he knows what's right for Gotham. Batgirl's fight spills into the staging area, where she is confronted by Jim and Conley, who tells her to get off the villain since he's working for them. Conley says that she's interfering with a Gotham PD operative and this is none of her concern. However, Batgirl demands Jim tell her why the National Guard are involved in what appears to be a homeless relocation project. Jim doesn't have any time to explain, since his men are stretched thin over the city and he has reports of another explosion. He can't reach Batman and there are people trapped in the explosion area. Anarchy says that he would have invited Batgirl to help with the homeless operation if he knew she wanted in so badly. So Jim tells her to go and save the people in the explosion. Batgirl again demands to know what exactly is happening, but Jim says that he's out of options, and with Batman MIA, they need her help. Conley wants to take her in, but Batgirl takes off for the explosion zone as Jim tells Conley she doesn't matter anymore. Jim knows that everyone in Gotham is a psycho and a savior, and no one knows which is which and what up is down, but he knows what he is, and he knows that Gotham is sick, and it must die. The Infected, The Commissioner Issue 1 was a pretty cool look at just how the Batman Who Laughs infection has affected Jim, effectively turning him into kind of like a Judge Dredd sort of gung-ho cop who wants to get rid of all of the filth in Gotham. It's quite an interesting take, since I had no idea why exactly he would be infected when other people like Supergirl and Shazam and Hawkman were being infected, people with powers and people who are pretty strong, but then we just get Jim Gordon, and in a way, Jim is the most dangerous of them all. I'd really like to see a follow-up with this, and his daughter especially maybe through in the Batgirl book or something, and following her story and learning what her father has become would be really cool, and I'd really like to see a bit more of that, and we just might in the 4-part Hell Arisen series. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.